Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. Good morning, Magic community. Yeah, a nice long weekend of recovery from spoiler season, and yet we got a lot of spoilers over the weekend too, and a lot of amazing ones already this morning. Let's jump into them. So to start things off, we've got Gas Guzzler, which is kind of gross because this person is just drinking gasoline, which cannot be good for you at all. In fact, I'm pretty sure that would probably kill you. Anyways, a 2/1 Vampire Rogue, maybe that's why it's a vampire, right? So it can survive that somehow? I don't know. For a single black mana, start your engine. So again, that whole speed thing enters the battlefield, blah, de blah, de blah. You get your speed at 1, and then all of a sudden, yeah, your opponents lose life on your turn throughout the turns, and you get to max speed 4. This creature enters tap, so that does make sense. It is a 2/1 for 1 that has something else to offer. So yeah, slowing it down ever so slightly is nice, but here we go. Max speed, pay a single black mana, sacrifice another creature or vehicle, draw a card. So, okay, the start your engines thing, from what I am, hearing online, as well as kind of my thoughts on it as well as they're evolving, yeah, it seems like it's probably something that's more so for limited play and for maybe other formats, but when it comes to Commander, yeah, it is something that's kind of difficult to build around because you need to probably utilize all the things, and that's kind of like a parasitic mechanic then, because in order for it to be good, you need to utilize all the things. That being said, yeah, this one is probably one that could push itself outside of that box and be able to be utilized in both vampire decks as well as rogue decks, and maybe aristocrat style decks as well. It is a very solid sacrifice outlet once you get to that max speed, and again, it is a very low to the ground card. So again, you don't have to necessarily depend on all the other start your engines cards out there, obviously, to get your engine started, to get that max speed up, actually. When it comes to getting the value out of this, low to the ground vampires are already just good, obviously, when it comes to commanders like Edgar Markov. So you might be able to make the cut there because it's a low to the ground aggressive commander, again, the aggressive commander, because it's in the command zone, you know, it gives you essentially, you know, free vampires, essentially. That's why it's a 6 mana commander, but it's low to the ground because you don't even have to play it. But this is a low to the ground creature for that commander that you play this, you get an extra vampire. And on top of that, again, it can start getting those speeds up essentially to 2, 3, 4 quite quickly, being low to the ground. And it's an amazing sacrifice outlet for you. Again, for only a single black mana, you get to draw a card by sacrificing another creature, which in Edgar Markov, you're going to have plenty of other vampire sacrifice, obviously, or other low to the ground creature-based strategies, aristocrat style strategies. It's one where, again, you shouldn't count on 100% this is going to be a sacrifice outlet that I have to depend on. But it is one that's like, okay, I can be aggressive, I can be great with this, and when I can utilize that as a sacrifice outlet, it's going to be amazing. And especially with those kinds of aristocrat style decks as well, like once you get this in play, it's going to be very easy for you, as long as you can keep this in play, to get to max speed 4 because of like Blood Artist type effects, essentially. So it's like, oh, I don't even have to get through with you on combat. So there you go. So again, vampire decks, rogue decks, and aristocrat style decks, definitely test it out. It seems like a very solid card for those, you know, for the right deck, I should say. It's not like an auto-include, although, again, I'm not going to say auto-include. Edgar Markov's got a ton of vampires to pick from, but it is one definitely to consider for that because, yeah, the draw engine mentality out of this can be massive. Moving on. We've got Risen, Necro, Regen, a 5/4 Zombie Cat Knight. Start your engines for 5 mana in black. Max speed at the beginning of your end step, create 2/2 black zombie creature token. Yeah, this is probably more a limited card as well, or again, if you literally have just a start your engines deck, cool. Outside of that, again, you can't really depend on, again, a 5 mana creature, and then you have to like wait a couple turns to actually get to that max speed to actually get extra value out of this, versus this being, okay, it's a 5/4 for 5 mana. Is that worth it? Probably not. Moving on, we've got Slick Imitator, a 1/3 ooze for 2 mana in blue. Start your engines, max speed, pay 1, sacrifice this creature, copy target spell you control, choose new targets for the copy. Okay, these ooze arts, is it just me, but it's like kind of creepy? I don't know, like they're kind of creepy. I don't know. But yeah, anyways, outside of it being creepy, it's a solid card. Again, once you get that max speed up there, being able to just pay 1 mana to actually copy a spell can be huge. That being said, that is a pretty hefty, you know, again, requirement to actually just include just a 1/3 for 2 mana in most decks out there. So probably more a limited card or for other formats. Next up, Transit Mage. Here we go. Okay, one that is Definitely a card that will see play in Commander like all the other mages like it. A 2/2 human wizard for 3 mana in blue. When this creature enters, you may search your life for an artifact card, mana value 4 or 5, reveal it in your hand, then shuffle. Yeah, so we kind of, I think, completed the cycle now. Is that correct? I believe we've got the other ones like, Trinket Mage, Trophy Mage, they all start with a T. I can't, Treasure Mage, and there's 2 more. They're slipping through my mind right now. I don't know. Someone in the comments will help me out. But basically, we've gone before one that searches for 1, one that searches for 2, one that searches for 3, and then 4, 5 was missing. Then we had one that was 6+ with Trophy or Treasure Mage. There we go. Anyways, so this one essentially is like, oh, great, cool. Mana value 4 or 5. It covers both those bases. Probably a good idea that they covered multiple of that because, I mean, maybe not, but like 4 and 5, like, I mean, there are some heavy-hitting artifacts, obviously, with that. I mean, just thinking about, like, Alhamrit's Archive, essentially, kind of a card, essentially. It is, like, again, like, a bigger mana value card. Like, I'd say Treasure Mage sees probably the least amount of play out of all of them. But, yeah, this one covers, again, 2 aspects, essentially, and 4 and 5. It's a little over the ground. It's going to be able to get you some really good stuff. Again, especially for decks that either have a ton of great artifacts in them, yeah, at those levels, then you're going to want to consider this one, especially decks that maybe have a combo piece with one of those 2, numbers, essentially, which there are plenty of combos out there. But, yeah, it is definitely one that I think is going to see a good amount of play in Commander for the right decks out there. Blink decks, I guess, you can consider it, too, if you have enough things at 4 and 5. Moving on. Reckless. Oh, and I guess I should have said with that blink decks, go get Conjurer's Closet, and there you go. That's at 5, right? Put it in play, and then it blinks it. Okay. Reckless Velocitor, a 3/3 Minotaur pilot for 4 mana in red. Whenever this creature saddles a mount or cruise a vehicle during your main phase, that mount or vehicle gains +2 0 gain trample top turn. Yeah, probably more of a limited card. I mean, if you really care about pumping a vehicle ever so slightly in your vehicle or mount deck, cool. If not, just skip it. Next up, Aether Jacket, a 2/1 Thopter for 3 mana flying vigilance. Pay 2, tap, sacrifice this creature, destroy another target artifact, activate only as a sorcery. Rule lawyers out there, please let me understand this. I mean, I guess technically if you're like utilizing this, you could have it target itself, which why would that be problematic, I guess, other than just like freely sacrificing it? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, cool. It's a card. I don't think it's going to see a lot of play in Commander. Next up, we've got Roadside Assistance, an aura that costs 3 mana in white. Enchant creature or vehicle. When this enters, make a 1/1 pilot, and this token saddles and mounts. You need the whole thing to +2 essentially for the saddle and mounting, or saddling and crewing. Enchanted permanent gets +1, has lifelink. It's probably more, again, of a limited card. I mean, a vehicle deck could consider it like, hey, okay, I really need like extra ways to gain life, and it also is, again, like a way to pilot those. So I guess, yes, a vehicle deck could consider it. It's like, hey, okay, I've got something to actually crew it. It helps it out. So even if this does get dealt with, like you lose that, be save on the pilot still. Yeah, outside of those decks, I can't really see this seeing much play. It's not going to be like, oh, I include it like in my creature deck. Cool. Unless, again, you really care about going wide at the same time, maybe. So, yeah, I'd say this is more of a limited card, if not just like, okay, vehicles, consider it. There you go. Next up, Dredger's Insight enchantment for 2 mana in green. Whenever one of our artifact and or creature cards leave your graveyard, you gain 1 life. Whenever this enchantment enters, mill 4 cards. You may put an artifact, creature, or land card from your hand. Sorry, your hand. From the milled cards into your hand. I skipped that a little bit. So, essentially, this is a life gain engine for you if you have a deck that is all about maybe recursion or about getting things out of your graveyard, exiling them from your graveyard. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to a commander, the one that comes to mind, obviously, when it comes to like repeatable life gain effects is, yeah, maybe a certain Golgari commander that, drains opponents whenever you're gaining life. Just maybe a certain very popular uncommon commander. And so with that, hey, if you've got ways to get things out of your graveyard, which you very well might, then yeah, this can be a consistent way to gain life and drain opponents. Outside of that, though, yeah, you kind of need other reasons to do it. Like, okay, just the ETB is not bad. Again, 2 mana, mill 4, get something back. Again, if you have an artifact, creature, or land. If you've got a lot of, other types of cards in your deck and you might kind of whiff on that, then maybe don't. But, like, chances are pretty unlikely that you whiff on it if you aren't, like, a full enchantment deck, I guess. But basically, it is kind of weird that this one is an enchantment but doesn't get enchantment backs, too. So, yeah, it's an interesting card. Again, like, life gain can consider it if you've got, again, enough ways to get things out of your graveyard. Again, artifacts or creatures. And then enchantment decks, probably not considering it, obviously, because, like, you might just whiff because you got enchantments on the top. So there you go. But again, if you've got, like, a mill strategy and you've got enough artifacts, creatures, lands, you'll definitely consider it. Next up, Haunted Hellride, a 3/3 vehicle for 3 mana in Dimir. Whenever you attack, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains death touch. You'll have turn untap, and it's got crew 1. Interesting. So this one, again, is one of those things that you don't actually even need to have as a creature or be attacking itself to get that value out of it. When it's in play, just all of a sudden, one of your creatures gets +1/+0 and death touch, and kind of like pseudo vigilance in a weird way. Again, it untaps it. So there you go. So yeah, being able to give a creature +1/+0 death touch and vigilance on a swing is not bad. Certain strategies will like that just because okay, I can get my commander through if it's got, first strike, or, if it's got double strike, it's going to be really hard for your opponents to actually block it then, essentially, too, because you can just take out a lot of creatures. And again, pseudo vigilance is nice. I'd say more so it's still probably okay, it's a solid card in a vehicle strategy, probably. Again, crew 1 is very minimal to actually have to crew this. It gives you value even when it's not actually a vehicle, which we are seeing more of that these days, or more of a creature, I should say. But we're seeing more of that these days, that, you are actually getting value out of a vehicle when it's not even a creature, which is quite nice. Yeah, it's an interesting card for sure. Specific commanders will want it, but yeah, outside of that, vehicle's pretty solid. Next up, we've got Ranger's Refueler, a 3/3 vehicle for 2 mana in blue. Crew 2, exhaust for 4, becomes an artifact creature, put a counter on it. Again, there's kind of that, push and pull of oh, it's a benefit that I don't have to crew it anymore. Great, it's permanently an artifact creature. Again, it doesn't say until end of turn. It's permanently an artifact creature. Cool. That being said, the problem with that is you kind of lose out on the benefit of it being just a vehicle and not a creature, and then it doesn't dodge board wipes like Wrath of God. Wrath of God will still just take it out then because it is now permanently a creature. Yeah, I mean, overall, and whenever you activate an exhaust ability, draw a card. Did I mention that? Yeah, basically, if you've got a lot of exhaust abilities in a deck, that is a cool, repeatable draw engine for you. I was really hoping that was going to be on a commander so you could build exhaust, tribal essentially, but that's okay, I guess. Yeah, it's just okay. It's just okay. So yeah, not a maybe vehicle decks consider it. Cool. I guess if you got other exhaust things in there too, you can get some extra value. Okay, next up, Embalmed Ascendant, a 1/2 zombie for 3 mana in Orzhov. Start your engines. When this creature enters, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Max speed. When a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This is one of those borderline ones again where it's aristocrat style decks and zombie decks are going to consider this potentially, but it's probably one of those that you might want to just try out and see how it works. Again, it is a card where you are getting 2 creatures for the price of 1. You're getting, total power and toughness of 3/4, right, for the price of 3 mana across 2 bodies. So it's already nice that you are getting, again, 2 zombies, especially for zombie decks. Great, go wide with zombies. There are better ways to do that, but still, it's not a bad card just on its face right there with that. Now, would you include that in the deck? Probably not, but that extra benefit of, again, once you get to max speed, whenever a creature you control dies, you won't lose 1 life, you gain 1 life. That is, what, Zulaport Cutthroat, essentially? So this is a slow to get there Zulaport Cutthroat. Yeah, I mean, that's already, again, that gives you 2 creatures. And again, 2 relevant creature types. So it is one of those that's there's a push and pull to it where, again, start your engines is prime mechanic that is, again, pretty parasitic where, all right, you need to include a lot of that if you want to consistently get to max speed. You have to include, an absurd amount of cards that you usually wouldn't consider for your deck. But with this, it's it might be solid enough just to throw it into a zombie deck again and try it out. Or an aristocrat style deck and try it out too, because again, it is 2 creatures. It's 2 creature fodder, especially the aristocrat style deck, which is very nice for the price of 3 mana. It's not too bad. And then also, once you get to that max speed, this is yet just another bombshell in your deck, another great way to drain your opponents as well. So it's creature fodder plus eventual, again, the Taste Karlov, death trigger doubling up, oh, yeah, your opponents are in big trouble. Let's drain them quite quickly with something like this. So, again, that push and pull of this one is it's definitely tried out for zombie, definitely tried out for the aristocrat style. And again, it could be a home run hitter if you are able to consistently get to that max speed. But again, it does take a couple of turns to get there. Next up, though, Haunt the Network. Sorcery for 5 mana in Dimir. Choose target opponent, create 2 1/1 colorless stop your artifact creature tokens of flying. Then the chosen player loses 2 life. You gain X life for X the number of artifacts you control. This is one that is interesting, again, for an artifact deck. If you can go wide super quickly with artifacts, this can be a great finisher for you. Yeah, I mean, this thing, for certain artifact decks out there that can make a ton of artifact tokens, again, whether that's treasures, clues, blood tokens, I guess, I don't know. But yeah, Thopters, artifact creatures as well. Yeah, you're getting, basically whatever you have on the board, +2, and then drain for a ton. On top of you are gaining that life as well. So this can be a great finisher for you. obviously, if you don't have a lot of artifact production, you're not going to be able to do much with this, obviously. You wouldn't just include it, be like, okay, I make 2 1/1s, and I drain you for 2, and I gain 2 for 5 mana. No, that's terrible. But again, if you are draining someone for like 10 plus, my goodness, yes, this is a great finisher for you. So yeah, if you've got a go wide artifact strategy, you definitely might want to consider this one because it's a very good finisher for you, for one player, I should say. And also, again, padding your life total a ton. Next up, though, Gilded Goda, a 2/2 horse mount for 2 mana in red. Whenever this creature attacks while saddle, create a treasure token, saddle 1. Yeah, more of a limited card, probably. Like, yeah, if you're like in a very like, oh, I like all the things that make treasures deck, cool. Maybe, but again, like, you don't have any evasion on this. You have to saddle it, so that is a commitment as well. And again, since it doesn't have any evasion, you might just like get 1 treasure out of it, and you're like, okay, I spent 2 mana, wasted a turn, and tap one of my creatures to saddle this, and then like it attacked, it got taken out, and I made a treasure. It's not going to work out for you more times than it works out for you. You know what I mean? Okay. Next up, Clamorous Ironclad, a 6/3 vehicle with menace for 4 mana in red, crew 3, and you can cycle it away. Yeah, I mean, again, cycling does make this a bit more interesting, especially when it's a low-to-the-ground cycling cost, like just 1. So yeah, for decks that like love just cycling cards and get value out of either discarding or again, like a cycle trigger, great. Outside of that, yeah, vehicle decks could consider it too. Again, a 6/3 with menace for 4 mana that has crew 3, not the worst thing in the world. Crew 3 is a little high compared to other crew costs for like, again, like a, again, you're kind of saving on, you're paying a little bit more for the crew cost because the cycling is a nice additional benefit that like, oh, it's not just a dead card in your hand if you want to get rid of it. So there you go. So yeah, again, cycling decks consider it, vehicle decks definitely consider it as well. Next up though, back on track, a source for 5 mana in black. Return target creature or vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a 1/1, create a 1/1 pilot creature token, and then also has the, the +2 thing essentially. Yeah, if you're in a vehicle deck, cool, great. Yeah, vehicle or mount deck, I guess, because, yeah, you make a pilot, which is great, and you get something back, which could either be a vehicle or a creature. Cool. I mean, if you just have, like, I make all the reanimation effects, in my deck, essentially, then yes, that too. Outside of that, there are definitely better reanimation effects out there, and getting just a 1/1 that, again, if you don't have a vehicle deck, you're not going to crew anything with it, like, nah, probably not. But, yeah, I mean, there are worse, like, 5-mana reanimate spells out there, but, yeah, mostly for vehicles, I would say. And then we've got, finally, Pace Setter Paragon, a 2/3 human pilot that is very, very enthusiastic for 3 mana in red. Exhaust for 3 mana. Put a counter on this creature against double strike until end of turn. Yeah, probably more so a limited card against double strike until end of turn. If it was permanent double strike, if you had like one of those like, hey, double strike everything and just get a bunch of anthems in play kind of deck, then cool. But no, since it's until end of turn, it's no, probably not. So yeah, let's just say that. There's a lot of cool cards. This is one that's probably a little more for limited. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on this one. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.